Hello and welcome to the special Consistory series here in Rome. Yes, indeed, we are here, the Eternal City. And also with me is a gentleman who is no stranger to all of us, 𝗤𝗏 Yam. 𝗤𝗏, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
𝗤𝗏 is, of course, a Singapore mayor for the Northwest District of Singapore, and he's also a serving member of Parliament. He's also a member of the International Catholic Legislators Network, as well as co-president of the Asia-Pacific Catholic Legislators Network. I don't know how you find time for all of this.
Well, God provides the time. We make full use of it.
Amen. And thank you for making time for this. Now, I have to ask you, how do you think Singaporeans view the appointment of Archbishop William Goh as a cardinal? And what does this development mean for us in Singapore?
Well, I think for Catholics, it's a very welcome move. It's the first time we have a cardinal in our Archdiocese since it was formed. It's also the 10th anniversary of his appointment as our Archbishop. And so I think it's added significance to his mission for the growth of our Archdiocese in Singapore. For Singaporeans in general, I think there is great interest and a renewed interest in the Catholic Church, because when the news came out that we have a cardinal, and the first cardinal in Singapore, I think the question on many people's mind is, what is a cardinal? You know, what does he do?
What does he do, right?
Yeah. And I think within the Catholic Church, he is therefore now an advisor, a close advisor to the Holy Father. And I think it's of great pride for us in Singapore. Many religious leaders from other faiths are also very proud that one of our own is now a cardinal.
That is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Indeed.
I mean, we are supposed to be one of the most multi-religious countries in the world.
Indeed.
And to have other faith leaders to be happy for us, I think that's an amazing thing.
Indeed, and I think the Catholic Church in Singapore and Archbishop William himself personally is very invested in this to ensure that Singapore, though small we are and yet so pluralistic, to have all our faiths, all our racial groups living in harmony. And the Catholic Church wants to play a key role in that. And we see that in a lot of the interactions that His Eminence has with our local religious leaders, in our annual Christmas dinners that we host for them, and for all of them to come participate, and you see that friendship that they have with him. I think that's really a moment that we can all be proud of when we see him on Saturday receiving his biretta.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think a lot of people are truly excited, but they're also, I think, a little unsure of what all this means for us. And so with that, what will the office of a cardinal now mean for the Archdiocese of Singapore? I mean, as you said, first time in 200 years, we have nothing on hindsight, to look at actually.
Indeed. But within our region, we see quite a number of our Asian bishops becoming cardinals.
That's correct.
Perhaps that is something that we can look to understand the role that Cardinal William will play. The first thing we must acknowledge as a diocese in Singapore is we may see him less.
Right.
He is fully committed to his flock in Singapore, but he now has an added dimension to his role.
Indeed.
He is shepherd not only to the local flock, but assisting our chief shepherd here to look after his flock internationally. He might be called to certain offices, he might be called to lead certain initiatives on behalf of the Holy Father, and because of that, we might see less of him. But that is something that we should also be proud of and be willing to give our bishop to the world and to the entire Catholic world, not just to our Archdiocese.
That's the first thing I suppose Catholics in Singapore will have to do, to allow our Archbishop, or in a sense, for him to be given so that he can be the hands and feet of the Holy Father in wherever the Holy Father needs him.
Indeed. And we see it with, for example, Cardinal-elect in Manila.
That's right.
He was a Cardinal Archbishop of Manila for some time, but he's now taken on a more significant role in the Roman Curia.
Right.
Of course, different cardinal bishops will play different roles. Some will be focused very largely on their diocese, but because of that additional element, we must be willing to let go of the person we love so much
Absolutely.
in our local church and allow his passion to be seen in the rest of the Catholic world as well.
I think with that also will come expectations of what the office should be doing or should be, or the man himself. So how would he, take this? Then, it could seem like he's all alone in this.
Well, I think for all our religious, our clergy, often we forget that despite their very public role, it can sometimes be a lonely one. Right? Because they take on the burdens of their flock, they take on the worries of their flock, and they want to bring that love of Christ to them through him. So when Archbishop William becomes Cardinal on Saturday, I think what we should firstly offer to him is our prayers, our support, and our love. And through that, he can truly exercise his office, both as continuing as our Archbishop and also as a Cardinal, Prince of the Church, acting on behalf of the Holy Father. So, what are the expectations? I think we might arrive at a point where we end up having an over-expectation of what a cardinal is.
And that is the worry.
Indeed. He is not suddenly a superhero.
Right.
And I'm quite certain, having known him for over a decade, in his great humbleness, he doesn't see himself in that frame.
And even though now he may be wearing a cloak sometimes.
But that cloak is a cloak of humility.
Absolutely.
Rather than a cloak of power. And that we should see within that context. The weight that he bears on his shoulders are now greater. And so for us, we should help to lessen it. For us as laity, for us as his co-workers in this wonderful field, we should assist him with our gifts, our talents, our support, so that his yoke is lighter.
Indeed.
And by working alongside with Cardinal William, I think we can truly achieve his aim for the Archdiocese of Singapore to be vibrant, to be evangelistic. And that's a role not just for him, it's for all of us to share in it.
Right.
Because it's very easy for us to look at him now and say, oh, he's a cardinal, and therefore, snap of fingers, everything gets done. But it doesn't work that way.
Absolutely.
Even
Absolutely.
the Holy Father has his difficulties and challenges as well.
Indeed. For you personally, I mean, you've involved personally in matters of state, but your heart's very close to the church as well. So looking at this whole development, what would your prayer be for him?
Well, my prayer for Cardinal William, it's really that he continues to play that role as a compassionate, humble, and yet charismatic leader, to bring not just Catholics, but also inspire Singaporeans to serve with all of our hearts. I mean, for a person in his office, I consider it for him a great burden. And he has said so a couple of times as well.
He has.
But it is something that he bears with great humility and says, this is a burden that Christ has given to me, and therefore I shall bear it willingly. And that's something that should truly inspire all of us in our daily lives. Whether or not we are Catholics or otherwise, we are often saddled with different sorts of challenges. We look at them and say, this is a yoke that I'm willing to bear, and I think through that sacrifice I can achieve something for others, not just for myself. And I think that's something that I'll continue praying for, and that Cardinal William will truly have the support of his Catholic flock in Singapore, the wider community in Singapore, for him to achieve his mission and for him to truly shine as a light of Christ for all.
That is our prayer for him, indeed. Alex, thank you so much for all your time and for being with us. And for you, our dear listeners and our viewers at home, we thank you for joining us in this special Consistory series from Rome. We will continue to bring you more updates, so stay with us.